Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'll be pitching another fighting game roster. And today I'll be basically pitching a Marvel versus DC fighting game. Now, if you guys don't know, there used to be a rumor where NetherRealm was going to make a Marvel game, and one of those theories was going to be a Marvel versus DC fighting game. And Ed Boon even said that he used to dream about Spider-Man fighting Batman, which it has happened in the comics. And if you guys really don't know, Marvel used to cross over with DC in the comics, and they're doing it again now, especially with an upcoming new one-shot crossover comic between Superman and Spider-Man. So, yeah, it's actually really cool because it's been like 2 decades since they last crossovered. And overall, I feel like a fighting game would be awesome. Although I have watched some YouTubers like creating their own fighting game roster of a Marvel vs. DC fighting game, I would actually want to I would also want to do that idea, but even better. But here's the true reason why this fighting game never happened. So, as you all know, yes, there was a rumor about a NetherRealm Marvel fighting game. But here's the reason why we haven't seen a DC crossover fighting game with Marvel. Now, obviously, Marvel has crossovered in a fighting games before, especially Marvel vs. Capcom, which is my top 3 fighting games. But here's the thing. The true reason why it doesn't really work with Marvel and DC is because Marvel is owned by Disney, and Disney has the film and TV show rights to Marvel. Well, Warner Bros. Owns DC. So you could say it's kind of complicated. But it's still basically possible to have like a crossover fighting game between Marvel and DC, because the thing is, since we're getting like more crossovers in the comics, I'm pretty sure they might crossover in more media. If Disney and Warner Bros. Ever work it out to have like a crossover fighting game with Disney, especially with Marvel versus Capcom released their own fighting game collection like almost 2 years ago. I feel like I should basically create a fighting game roster. But anyways, I'll be talking about the gameplay, and I'll be also, you know what? I don't need to explain anymore. But anyways, let's talk about the gameplay. Okay, now for the tag team system, and yes, there's gonna be a tag team system. I feel like we should have the same kind of tag team system with of what I talked about in our first ever fighting game pitch, because I feel like this is actually this would actually be a cool mechanic, because you get to switch to 1v1, 2v2, 3v3, and 4v4, especially with the upcoming Marvel Telecon Fighting Souls going to have their own their 4v4 tag team system. Now that would actually be cool. Now, for the customization, it'll be similar to Injustice 2. And yes, I know a lot of people, I feel like, didn't really like the gear pieces, but to me, I never really hate the gear pieces. I just didn't like how I have to buy unlock or buy the gear pieces for Injustice 2, especially that it takes a while to unlock gear pieces. But I feel like what they should do in this fighting game is that they should have 8 gear pieces be free, and then have others be unlocked later. So that way it doesn't feel like left out to have less gear pieces. Anyways, for the story mode, I actually have a cool idea for the story mode. So you know how in Mortal Kombat versus the DC Universe, they had a option where you get to choose each universe's side of the story, like the Mortal Kombat side or the DC side. Well, I want to include the same thing with this fighting game, because I really like the idea of choosing the side to experience their perspectives. And there will be also be there will be also premiere skins. And I won't be talking more of the premiere skins because I feel like this video might be way too long. The reason why I didn't talk about the reason why I didn't have the premiere skins for the first fighting game pitch is that I feel like that there might be a few characters that need to be separated, as long as they have their moves alternated, you know. And now I'm about to include the premiere skins because I like the idea that you get to switch to alternate skins. Like, for example, Flash becoming Reverse Flash, because Reverse Flash is one of the 2 premiere skins for the Flash, while the other premiere skin is Jay Garrick. And I actually love this. And there's also a John Stewart Green Lantern premiere skin for Hal Jordan. There's also a Bizarro premiere skin for Superman. So I feel like we should have the same for other characters. And you know what would be also cool? If they also have amalgam premiere skins. Now, if you don't know what amalgam is, there used to be amalgam comics where Marvel and DC fused each other, like Dark Claw fused with Batman and Wolverine, Spider-Boy fused with Ben Reilly's Spider-Man and Superboy, Carter Kent Superboy, and more. So I thought we should have a premiere skin for each Marvel and DC side, and then also include amalgam. But it would be kind of a little bit difficult because since they're like fused characters, it might look a little hard to find which characters like similarity of the characters should get their premiere skin. But I think it should work because I like that idea. For the animation, I will have it look like Injustice Gods Among Us, which might be harder to do the animation, especially that Injustice Gods Among Us came out like almost 13 years ago. I meant 13 years ago. I don't know why. But, you know. But, and, you know what they should also do? They should also do like, what they did in Injustice with the arcade mode, where you get to have like each multiverse. It'll be kind of like the classic towers mixed with uh Injustice 2. But now let's get to the roster. But before that, I'll be talking about the main villain of the game. The main villain of the game will be Beyonder. Now, this game will adapt the Marvel versus will adapt both the 1980 Secret Wars comic mixed with the Marvel versus DC crossover comic, because the true reason why I'm mixing two of these in for the adaptation of the game is because Marvel versus DC didn't really have a threat. It was only a crossover event just because the two brothers like decided to pit their own universes against each other. So there was kind of no like main villain role. So that's why I have Beyonder. Now the two brothers could be in the game, but I feel like they should be just sidelined and have Beyonder have more of the screen time. You know what I mean? So yeah. But anyways, let's go to the roster size. And as usual, like the first part of the first episode of our fighting game pitch, there will be 3 parts. So let's get into it. Now for the roster size, it will be up to 60 with 25 Marvel characters, 25 DC characters, and 10 DLC/guest characters, which I'll be explaining later. But let's talk about the Marvel side of the roster. Now, the obvious three uh characters in the roster would be Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Hulk, because they are the true Marvel Trinity. Before the MCU, they were the Trinity in the comics, but they weren't the Trinity in the MCU because of course of the former rights issues. Which Sony does still own Spider-Man, but not for long though. Now, but that's not what we're talking about. These three are the the core pillars of the Marvel side, and especially that they're like popular. So having them the first three characters on the Marvel side of the roster would definitely make sense. Now, number 4, I have Iron Man. Now, don't worry, there will be some popular characters through the roster, but we obviously gotta have Iron Man. If you have like a like a Marvel fighting game, Iron Man needs to be in there. He was he was even popular just because of his movies, and that is true. But he still needs to be in that fighting game. Even before his popularity, he was in like the first three Marvel fighting games. So you could say he was kind of a bit popular before the MCU, but I don't know. But number 5, I have a Captain America. And same with Iron Man, he should be in the Marvel fighting game because you can't have a Marvel fighting game without Captain America. Now, now, yeah, I could see like we could have a fight, like leave out like Captain America for a bit, but I feel like he should be in the main roster. You know. So yeah, number 5. Number 6. I got Thor. Thor needs to be in this game. I like how he was used in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. So I feel like that we should have more of Thor in some fighting games. And now, since we got the Avengers trio done, let's go to number 7. Number 7, I have one of my favorite Marvel characters. Basically my new favorite character, Nova. I absolutely love Nova. He actually beated Annihilus, Galactus, and even Ego the Living Planets. Plus, he's kind of the underrated character. There was also a rumor that there's gonna be no a Nova no there's that Nova is going to be in the MCU is what I'm trying to say. And if it's Richard Rider, I would absolutely kill for it. Now I did say I grew up with Sam Alexander, but I like Richard. I think we all love Richard. Especially that he's one of Marvel's most underrated characters. Number 8, I have the best X-Men, Cyclops. I was glad that X-Men 97 treated Cyclops better. Actually, everyone did, because Cyclops in those movies was trash. Even though he kind of looks cool, but let's admit it, he was done dirty in the X-Men movies. So Cyclops returning in another crossover fighting game actually makes sense. He is the leader of the X-Men. You can't have the X-Men without Cyclops. Now, I did not include Cyclops in the first game, but you know, it is what it is. But Cyclops is back. Number 9, 10, 11, and 12 is the Fantastic Four. Mr. Fantastic, which is Reed Richards, Invisible Woman, Sue Storm, Human Torch, Johnny Storm, and The Thing, Ben Grimm. And the Fantastic Four needs to be in fighting games. Like, they were not in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Yet Doctor Doom was even in the game. Even Galactus mentioned it in one of his intro quotes.
Much like the Fantastic Four, you are nothing to me.
Because the thing is, the Fantastic Four needs to be in a fighting game. They're the first ever Marvel team. They're the first family in Marvel. So they should be treated as one. Am I right? Anyways, number 13, I have Storm. You gotta have an X-Men with Storm, because Storm is one of Marvel's most important X-Men characters. She was even written well in the X-Men 97. And the reason why I'm saying this is because X-Men 97 was not only the revival of the old X-Men cartoon, but it was an absolute X-Men show. It was the best X-Men show. Okay, I'll stop glazing and moving on to number 14. Number 14, I got Black Panther. Now, I actually like how Black Panther was in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Sadly, I don't have the DLC character in Infinite, but I do like his character. Number 15, I have Jubilee. Now, Jubilee needs to be in a fighting game. I don't think she was ever used in a fighting game other than Marvel vs. Capcom, but as a special assist. So, I think Jubilee deserves to be in a fighting game, because X97 proves she isn't just like a mutant with fireworks. You know what I mean? But yeah. Number 16, I have Beyonder. Now, I know he should stay as the final boss. I know he would be like too powerful for the roster. But I feel like playing as a boss actually makes sense. Now, he could be kind of like how Kronika was in MK11 without being too much powerful, to say at least. But honestly, he should be a playable character in the fighting game roster. I'm sorry, but he has to be. Like, I mean, who would not want to play as Marvel's best villain, to say at least? Number 17, I got Thanos. Now, Thanos should be in more Marvel fighting games. Especially he's only been in like 2 at least. Or you can count 3 if you mention Marvel superheroes. But I think Thanos needs to be in more Marvel fighting games, especially that the MCU has made him more popular. Number 18, I got Doctor Doom. Now, Doctor Doom won't be the main villain because I already had him as the main villain for my first fighting game idea. But he could work like he could at first. No, that's just gonna make him a main villain again for this game. But Doctor Doom should be in more fighting games, especially that he's only been in 2. So yeah. Number 19, I got Venom. Yes. Spider-Man's most lovable villain himself, or anti-hero. Like, he can kind of work as both an anti-hero and a villain, but I don't know. Half of me thinks he should be a villain. The other half, you know what? No, let's just have him as a villain for this game. Now, Venom has been a staple for Marvel's fighting games, especially with Marvel vs. Capcom. So you got to have Spider-Man's black, gooey... I'm sorry. But seriously, Venom has been a staple for a Marvel fighting game. So it would be fair to have him. Speaking of Spider-Man villains, number 20 is the Sinister Six. Now, I love an idea of a team, like a Marvel team, like a team slot where you can actually switch to each character's kind of like how TMNT was in Injustice 2. And I even did the same with the Fantastic Four in the first fighting game idea. So having Sinister Six as a team slot in the game would be cool. Now, when you select the Sinister Six, you might play as Doc Ock, the Lizard, Electro, Craven, Sandman, and Green Goblin. It's basically a choice, like which character in the Sinister Six you want to play as. But I like the idea of a kind of a team slot of the in the fighting game, which is probably the reason why the Fantastic Four should be like a team slot, but I decided not to make them one in this game since I already had four. Especially that I already had them as well a team slot based roster. But anyways, let's just move on. Number 21. Number 21 is Silver Samurai. Now, some of you may ask who he is. Well, he's one of the Wolverine villains. And honestly, he might be one of the best Wolverine villains other than Sabretooth, because we got to admit, we can't always have Sabretooth as a we have to like have more Wolverine villains other than Sabretooth. And Silver Surfer is one of those options. He's also been in fighting games before. Well, he's only been in two, like I said, but it doesn't matter. I think he would definitely have his best return in a new crossover fighting game. And he's basically kind of like Shredder. Well, not really, but he does kind of look like Shredder. I think he also has a clan. I think it's called the Hand. I'm gonna have to search it up. All right, so his clan is called the Yoshida. Sorry if I pronounced it wrong, but that's what his clan's name is. So, yeah. I don't really know what to say of this. But I think other than that, I think one of his stage should be the stage from that you know what, I haven't really think of it. I don't even know why I'm even talking about it. But what I was gonna also say was that Silver Samurai has also been in that one Wolverine movie, and I actually really liked it. Although his appearance was different from the comics, it looked really cool. So I think Silver Samurai deserves the respect he needs. At number 22, we have the leader. Now, some of you may be asking who the leader is. Well, the leader is one of Hulk's villains. The reason why I didn't add Abomination, because I feel like that Hulk and Abomination could like have the same powers, so he could just be a premier skin. And the leader is one of the Hulk villains, and you probably didn't know this, and I didn't, but he was actually in the that 2008 Hulk film, which was, I think, the last Hulk movie we have. No, wait, no, that isn't the last Hulk movie, but basically, Yeah, he was in Hulk, but he kind of looked different in that film. He also returned in Captain America Brave New World. But I kind of wish he was the true, like, primary villain. Like, why did the Red Hulk have to be the final boss? Seriously. Which makes sense, but still. But I do like the idea of the leader, like, being a playable character in some way could work. I don't know. Number 23, I have Baron Zemo. Yeah, I decided to choose another Captain America villain other than Red Skull because he was already added in as a playable character in my first fighting game idea. And honestly, Baron Zemo has to be one of Captain America's most underrated villains. Even the movie said so. Well, kinda. But yeah, you gotta admit he's kind of the underrated Captain America villains, and I like that. And it'll be cool to see him as a playable character. And we haven't had him ever in a fighting game, so this is gonna be probably is the first time he's gonna be in a fighting game. Yeah, there isn't really a lot of Captain America villains in that film. Well, no, not the film, the games. But I think he deserves to be in the fighting game. What do you guys think? Now, number 24, I got Taskmaster. Another Captain America villain added into my roster. Well, not really a Captain America villain, but I would like him to also be in this fighting game. His first and last appearance was in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and he hasn't returned since. And I think his best return would be in another crossover game. Plus, the fact that he can also copy everyone's moves is actually really cool. And I think he should return. And finally, the last character of the Marvel side of the roster is Bastion. Now, like I said, some of you may be asking who he is. Well, he is actually one of the X-Men villains, and he also appeared in X-Men 97. And the writing of the character is actually insane. I recommend you watch X-Men 97. Okay, I'll stop glazing about the show. But after the show, you know what I would say? He needs to be in a fighting game. I don't think he has ever been in a Marvel fighting game. So, including him would absolutely blow people's minds like crazy. But anyways, that's it for the Marvel side of the roster. Let's talk about DC. Now, here are the three obvious picks. Number 1 is Batman. Number 2 is Superman. And 3 is Wonder Woman. You obviously have to include them. They're the DC Trinity. And it would definitely make sense to have them in a game. Otherwise, it wouldn't look so good without them. Because we're not turning this into the Arrowverse. And some of you guys may know what I'm talking about. Because it would, if we don't include these three, this is going to be exact result of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Even though I love the game. But you still gotta have those. Because they are the pillars to the DC universe. And it would obviously make sense to have them in a crossover fighting game. Number 4 will be The Flash. The fastest man alive himself. This time it will be Barry Allen. I really do like this character. He is definitely one of my favorites of all time. And plus, his moves in Injustice 2 should be exactly almost the same in the game. So number 4 will be Flash. Number 5, I got Green Arrow. Now, this is basically one of the reasons why I didn't include Hawkeye, because if I can also include Green Arrow, he could also have like a premiere skin where he basically becomes Hawkeye. And he can also have like a Roy Harper premiere skin. So yeah, the same results as why Quicksilver is also in there. And even though I feel like he should be in a fighting game. But trust me, we'll get to there someday. But I actually like how Green Arrow was handled in the Injustice games. And I feel like that that him returning in a new crossover fighting game would actually skyrocket it even more. You could also tell that to Troy Boyle, which, by the way, check him out. He also created a Marvel fighting game roster. No, I meant the Marvel vs. DC fighting game roster. So check out his channel down to my description. Anyways, number 6, we got Supergirl. Now, I know you guys are thinking that I'm just adding the Arrowverse Trinity, but that Arrowverse Trinity was one of the best DC Trinities we've ever seen in DC live action. And I know this might be like glazing and stuff, but you know, it is what it is. Plus, Supergirl needs to be in more DC fighting games. And if anything, she should also be in a crossover fighting game. Number 7, we got Green Arrow. No, I'm sorry if I mentioned him. Green Lantern. I'm sorry, guys. But this time, it won't be Hal Jordan or Jon Stewart. It will be Kyle Rayner. I actually like this version of Green Lantern. And I think he should be in a DC fighting game, which I don't think he's ever been in a DC fighting game before. So it would be cool to have him in a DC crossover fighting game. And plus, he would definitely get along with Nova because they're both similar in in some ways. Number 8, I have Mr. Terrific. Now, just like in my Injustice 3 roster, I absolutely like how this character was handled in Superman. So, having him in a DC crossover fighting game would absolutely make a lot of people want to play this game. And yeah. He's also kind of like the Reed Richards of DC, which also makes sense because he has his own Fantastic Four in the DC universe. But it would definitely get a lot of people's attention. Number 9, I have Nightwing. I didn't include him in the base roster of my crossover fighting game because I wanted to give Tim more of the spotlight. But I think he should also be. I think he can. I guess I can also. What am I saying, you guys? What am I saying? I'm trying to find the right words. What I'm saying is that. Okay, I actually don't know what I'm saying. I'm sorry, guys. But I think Tim would definitely have more of the spotlight than Nightwing in the DC side of the story. Even with Nightwing in the game. Because who else wouldn't not want Nightwing in the game? Exactly. Now, number 10, speaking of Tim Drake, I have him back in the roster. Now, like I said before, he is my favorite Robin. And I think he should have some of the spotlight again in this crossover fighting game. So, but you know what would also be cool, since we're basically adapting the DC versus Marvel, we're basically mixing Secret Wars, the 1980 Secret Wars comic mixed with the Marvel and DC crossover fighting game. No, what am I saying? What am I saying? What am I saying? I'm sorry. I need to find the right words. Since we're adapting the 1980 Secret Wars comics mixed with the DC versus Marvel comic storyline, it would also be cool to also have the relationship between Tim and Jubilee in the game. And trust me, it actually did happen in the comics. And I think this is one of the best crossover one of the best crossover ships I've ever seen. So having him also in the fighting game with Jubilee would actually get a lot of people's attention. Number 11, I have I'm gonna have more Teen Titans through the roster, so bear with me, guys. So, number 11 will be Starfire. Now, I didn't really include her in the Injustice 3 roster, but I'm now including her in the roster this time. Starfire is one of DC's most popular characters in the Teen Titans franchise. So honestly, just put her in the crossover fighting game. Just do it. Number 12 is Beast Boy. Now, all of you guys may be asking why I didn't include Beast Boy in the Injustice 3 roster when he's been most recommended. Well, it's because he basically is dead. I don't get why people are in. I don't know why people were including him in the roster, because he is basically dead, guys. So it wouldn't make any sense if Beast Boy, if a dead character was also in Injustice 3. Well, after all, Green Arrow did die in the Injustice comics and replaced with the alternate version, and Nightwing died and became Deadman, so that would be kind of hypocrite of me of excluding Beast Boy and Injustice 3. But it is what it is. Number 13. Number 13, I got Raven. And yes, I know. But you obviously got to have Teen Titans characters, and if you leave out Raven, then yeah. Well, like, I mean, it would still be successful, but a lot of people might feel like they're just doing feel like that the game would just be kind of like MVCI, and we don't want that to happen. So I think Raven should be in a fighting game. Well, other than the Injustice series. But she only been in one Injustice game, and that was it. So I feel like she should be added into the base roster. Number 14, I have Aquaman. And same reason for Mr. Fantastic. Same reason for Plastic Man and Hawkeye. I just decided to include Aquaman because we obviously got to have Aquaman, and because he's actually one of DC's best characters, even though he's been kind of underutilized. Well, I said kinda because he's been in some media, But I feel like he should be in more DC games. So I feel like we should just also include Aquaman, which is why I have him in the base roster. And the last hero on number 15 of the DC side is Static Shock. Now Static Shock needs to be in a DC fighting game. I even said this in Injustice 3. Plus, people would absolutely lose their mind if they see Static Shock is in a DC fighting game. If Milestone Media agrees with DC, then they should definitely put in Static Shock. Because, in my opinion, he's basically the coolest character in the DC universe, which makes him even more electrifying. Get it? Because Static is basically electric. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. That was a bad joke. Right now we're going to the villains. Yay. Number 16, I have Darkseid. Now, before people say, well, that I'm being kind of a hypocrite because Darkseid and Thanos are similar, but as long as their moves are alternated, then they can exist separately. Plus, Thanos is kind of more different than Darkseid, especially with the Infinity Gauntlet. So it wouldn't make sense. It would not make sense to have Darkseid as a premier skin for Thanos, if you get what I mean. So yeah. Number 17, I got Brainiac. Yeah. We definitely need Brainiac. I thought it would be also cool to include him as well. But I kind of feel a little bit bad right now because I didn't include Ultron, so... But I do think that Brainiac would definitely work well in more, like, fighting games. Especially that Injustice 2 had made him the best written villains. But, like, I mean, it would kind of, you know what, I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. Let's just move on to number 18. Number 18 is Bane. I like how Bane was in Injustice 2. And I think that a DC crossover fighting game could definitely suit him. And we could also kind of have a fight between Venom and Bane. Like, how cool would that be? Number 19, I got Cheetah. And yes, I know I know that I didn't pick a different Wonder Woman villain, but you got to admit she's a popular staple. Well, you could say that I'm kind of being a hypocrite for not having Sabretooth, but Sabretooth, you know what? I don't even know why I can't really explain myself. But Cheetah should definitely be in a DC crossover fighting game. I think it would actually work well for her. But anyways, number 20. Number 20, I have the Rogues. And yes, the Rogues as in Flash villains. Same for the Sinister Six. You will it will be a team slot where when you press when you select the Sinister Six, you'll be chosen to either play as Captain Cold, Heatwave, the Top, Weather Wizard, or Mirror Master. And this would definitely be kind of a little bit comparable to the Sinister Six team slot. But you know how it is. Number 21. I have Amazo. Now, before you guys get upset with me, hear me out. I just love the idea of having a having him like having him copying every superhero's powers would actually look cool. But this would kind of make him more powerful and hard to try to beat him, and should be just an NPC boss. But I just feel like that, you know, Amazo has never been in a fighting game. So I would love to have him like as a playable character. And he would kind of work similar to Shang Tsung, you know, if you guys know what I mean. Number 22, I have Trigon. And I feel like we should have more Teen Titans villains. Now, I think I include him in the Injustice 3 roster because I don't think he's ever been in a DC fighting game. So if they also make this fighting game, people would actually lose their mind. And I know I keep saying it, I'm sorry. But anyways, let's go to 23. Number 23, I have Lex Luthor. Now, I just decided to choose him because I could have thought of some other Superman villains, and also because since he's one of DC's big popular villains, I think it would make sense to put him in the base roster. Now, that would mean that but some of you may be asking of how it would work, especially of how Lex Luthor and Iron Man both are billionaires with mech suits. But I think as long as Lex Luthor's moves are kind of different than Iron Man, he can just be a playable character instead of a premier skin for Iron Man. But it could work. Number 24. Sadly, I'm going have to include Joker. Yes, I know. I'm sorry, guys. I know. I know we've been seeing more of Joker lately, and I do agree that we should have more Batman villains, but it's only because I haven't really thought of like other Batman villains. So sadly, I'm just gonna have to include Joker. Number 25, I have Black Manta. Yes. Now, I would have added Ocean Master, but I feel like Black Manta just kind of have more of star power over Ocean Master. I'm sorry, guys, but you know, I think he should be a playable character. Now, Ocean Master, I don't really know. I never really thought of him through the base roster. Yeah. So that is the DC side of the roster. Now let's talk about the DLC / guest characters. Now, some of you guys may be wondering why I'm including why I'm adding I'm also adding guest characters when it's a crossover fighting game. Well, I think there might be a way to have guest characters without with being in a crossover fighting game, because there can be guest characters during the game because it's just simple. We can just add characters that are not part of the two universes. So we're just gonna add non DC and Marvel characters, if that makes sense to you. But let's talk about DLC. Number 1, I have Access. Now, some of you guys may be wondering who Access is. Access is Marvel and DC's forgotten character who originated in the 616 universe, basically the Marvel universe, and he actually got the power to travel to both universes. And ever since the Marvel and DC crossover comic, he hasn't really appeared in comics, or that's what Marvel and DC want you to think. Since Marvel and DC are returning, I think he should definitely return. Plus, the fact that he has the power to travel to both universes obviously makes sense. And he can also be like a playable character in the story mode, and then you can unlock him later on, if that makes sense to you. Plus, Marvel and DC legally own him, so they can just add him as a DLC character, which is why I didn't put him in the base roster. Number 2, I have Miles Morales. Yes. also known as the Kid Arachnid. And trust me, he's been called Kid Arachnid because we can't really just have both of them be called Spider-Man. So we could just have Miles Morales be called Kid Arachnid if you guys think that makes sense. But other than that, I don't think Miles Morales has ever been in a fighting game. Because I feel like we should add more of him in the fighting game. Especially that he's been the modern Spider-Man. So, if anything, he deserves to be in the base roster. No, not the base roster. He deserves to be a DLC character in the roster. Number 3, I got Stargirl. And just like the Injustice 3 roster, she has never been in DC fighting games. So I feel like that it would be cool to also add a playable character like Stargirl to be in a crossover fighting game. Number 4, I have the Merc with the Mouth himself, Deadpool. And I know I could add him in the base roster, but because I had to add Fantastic Four characters, he will be part of the guest characters. No, not the guest character. What am I saying, guys? He will be part of the DLC roster. And plus, we all love Deadpool. And who wouldn't include the Merc with the Mouth himself through the base roster? Like, name one person. But yeah, number 4 is Deadpool. Number 5, I have Redhead. Now, I didn't really include him in the base or DLC roster in the first fighting game idea. But pretty much Redhead is one of the best Robins. And I say this because everybody loves him. Plus, he is like the only Robin with like a dark backstory, way much darker than Nightwing. And we can have a reunion by completing the Robin trio with Red Hood. Now, I do think he should be in more DC fighting games. Especially that he was added as a DLC character in Injustice 2. And very much would also like to have him return in a crossover fighting game. Number 6, I have Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer definitely needs to be in a fighting game. He has never been a playable character in every Marvel vs. Capcom game, as a matter of fact. And since Marvel Toe Consoles is coming out, I'm hoping that he would be in the base roster. Plus, Silver Surfer really needs to have more projects like other than the comics to appear in. And plus, everybody loves Silver Surfer. So which is why I would have him in a crossover fighting game. And our last DLC character is Adam. And I chose Adam instead of Ant-Man because I just thought I thought I would work best with Atom. Now I know he was already a DLC character in Injustice 2, but I would very much would love to have him in the game. And now we got the DLC characters roundup. Here are the guest characters. And our first guest character is Mega Man X. Now, you guys already know that I really like Mega Man X. Especially that he is the better version than original Mega Man. No offense to the original Mega Man fans. And I feel like that he should actually be in more of crossover fighting games other than Marvel vs. Capcom. So Mega Man X is our first guest character. Our second guest character is Takeda Takahashi. Yeah. For those who don't know, Takeda Takahashi is the son of Kenshi Takahashi from Mortal Kombat. He first appeared in MKX and returned in MK1 as a DLC character. Now, I think Takeda deserves to be in a crossover fighting game, especially that everybody loves Takeda. And plus, he would definitely get along with Spider-Man, especially of how his whip swords are definitely similar to Spider-Man's webs. You could see the dynamic in the irony, right? Well, not technically an irony, but you guys know what I mean. And our final guest character is, drumroll please, Serial Designation N. Now, same reason for Uzi from our first fighting game idea. Murder Drones is really gaining popularity with Amazon Prime also having Murder Drones and what am I saying? What am I saying? I'm just all over the place. But what I was saying was that since Murder Drones is also added in Amazon Prime, I would probably be surprised if he was also added as a guest character in a fighting game. And so, yeah. Thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe button. And what am I saying? Just leave a like and subscribe. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Peace.